This is If My People Bible Study, Part 77. We are in the last parts of the book of Numbers, and we are in chapter 29, as I said, Part 77. So let's get started. Starts off with a bang. It says, On the first day of the seventh month, hold a sacred assembly and do no regular work. It is a day for you to sound the trumpets. First day of the seventh month. That would be in the Gregorian calendar today. It's going to be September, which is the ninth month. And just remember, as I told you, when they numbered their months back in those days, the beginning of the year didn't start on January 1. It started in March, the first month of the year. The head of the new year. The head of the new year, if you look up today and you go Google and you go to Wikipedia, which don't follow Wikipedia, I'm telling you, don't. They go with the majority. They are a democracy. They're not a republic. They don't believe in law. They believe in mob rule. Whoever yells the loudest and votes the most wins, regardless of truth. That's Wikipedia, in my opinion. And I've had a couple communications back and forth with them. They've told me that. They told me point blank that what they do is they go with the majority rules, okay, which is what this country is fighting about right now between what is a republic and what is a democracy. The United States, uh, we just heard on the news last night, many of unfortunately, they're Democrat. Many of the Democrats said that this democracy, you need to do what the democracy says. This country is a total democracy. And I was just thinking, okay, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the democracy for which it. No, it doesn't say that, Mr. Democrat. It says to the republic for which it stands. And that doesn't mean Republicans. It means Torah. It means law. It means instruction. So, this is a very important chapter here. This is a continuing. It means today we're supposed to be doing this, not Christmas, Easter bunnies, none of that stuff. It's supposed to be on the first day of the seventh month. That is the fall equinox. Fall equinox. When is that? Normally, it's usually always September 21st. There you go. And it's on that day, it is a sound the trumpets, which is normally meant attention, to gather, to make war, to warn. That's what a trumpet does. A trumpet is intentional. It is for gathering. It is to make war. It is go to war. It is to retreat. And it is to hear and obey. It is to get your attention. Pay attention to the sound of the trumpets. And so that is the Yom Torul today, which is Day of the Trumpet. And so, in short, we practice for the coming. What is that? That's just the practice of pay attention. The end of the age is coming. And what comes shortly after the end of the age at a certain time? No one knows for sure. No one knows the day or the month or the time, whatever, but we can tell you this season. We know the season's in the fall. And what happens? The return of Yeshua. And the whole world, including believers, Christians, Messianics, everybody is going to be weeping and gnashing their teeth. Weeping if you are a believer, because you're weeping because you realize time's up. There's so much more I could have done, and I didn't. I could have followed and read the Word more daily, more often, and prayed to the Father more daily and more often. And I didn't. So I'm weeping. I'm not happy. It's not a day of joy. It's when He first comes, you realize you have fallen short. You're not in joy yet. Okay, it's just like when your parents die and both of them or one of them is extremely ill and they pass away. You are mourning them, but at the same time you're in joy. Why? Because to be absent from the body is to be present with Adonai. And so that's a good thing. You're joyful, but you're crying. Get it? Now there's gnashing of teeth. What's gnashing of teeth? That's those who are not of the seed, do not hear and obey, never will, and as we're about to explain here in these ending of the book of Numbers, never will. You're not going to save them no matter what you do. Even if you do all their stuff for them, you're not going to save them. But you don't know who is savable and who is not. Okay? Understand that. So that's chapter 21. It's basically what it's talking about. So they talk about preparation of the animals and sacrificing. Well, that's fantastic. Read all through it. I want you to read everything. But apply that to today. What is this animal sacrifice? What is this cleansing process? It's you. Prepare yourself for the return of Yeshua. Prepare yourself for a day of atonement, which follows 10 days afterwards on Yom Teruah. Prepare yourself for his coming amongst you. Prepare yourself for all that. You don't want to be without oil. You want to be the bride with oil. Plenty of prayers, plenty of supplication, plenty of the word in you. You don't want to be short of that. And when he comes, he will dwell with us. He will tabernacle with us. That's the 7 days. So there's the Yom Teruah, add 10, Day of Atonement, count 4, a total of 14 days, and then you have your tabernacles, your booths, your 7 days. And then the 8th day after that would be new beginnings. So now we're in chapter 30. Moses said to the heads of the tribes of Israel, this is what Yahweh commands. When a man makes a vow to Yahweh and takes an oath to obligate himself by a pledge, he must not break the word, but must do everything he said. Now we go back to that. We've said it 3 or 4 times now. Yet let your yes be yes, your no be no, and when you say something, say yes if you have the capability of doing it. Say no if you don't. It's not bad to say no if you can't do it. But if you can, and you know you can, say yes, and then do it. All right. That saves you a ton of laws to learn in the Old Covenant. Right there. Tons of laws. Now we're in chapter 31. It says, Yahweh said to Moses, take vengeance of the Midianites for the Israelites. After that, you will be gathered to your people. So Moses said to the people, arm some of your men, go to war against the Midianites and carry out Yahweh's vengeance on them. Now about 12, 13,000, whatever people did go out and make war. What did Yahweh tell them to do? He told them to wipe them out. There's a DNA problem, a serious DNA problem with these tribes of the earth. And this is one of them. There are, as I said, 257. We're just using that number. There could be 258, 259. I'm not going to argue with you, but I've counted 257 different types of people in this world. The majority of them, sinful people, if not all of them. But the majority of them, Yahweh saves them. How do we know that? Because they still exist. But here on this one, he wanted them wiped out. So they had a big war. They took the men. They killed every one of the men. And they kept the women for themselves. Big problem. DNA again. There's a DNA problem. Yahweh said, don't mix with these people. And the best way to not mix with them is to get rid of them. That means women and children. That means everything. This is one of the times that Yahweh says, get rid of them. And as I've said before, somewhere in a Bible study already, I've said, when you count up all the people that Yahweh has had, that he says, so-and-so was born, he was arraigned, he was an evil king, and so he took him out. He killed him. When you add up all the people that Yahweh did with plagues and famines and disasters and things blowing up and fire from heaven and all these things, it's like 1.4 million people. Now, the atheists and all the people screaming at the top of their lungs, oh, what an evil God that is. Oh, my God, that's an evil God. Okay, well, in World War II alone, Stalin was good for killing off... Stalin and Hitler had a good time. They had a real good time. I don't know, 50, 60 million people. We've had a good time since January 1973, when Roe versus Wade came, we've had a real fun time destroying 66, 68, 70 million babies. I said, well, it's not a baby yet, it's still in the womb. Well, as far as last time I checked, of the billions of people born on the earth, they were all born from a mother, and they were human that came out. There was no dogs or cats or birds. Okay? So if they're not human until they're born, then what are they? If they come out 100% of the time as a human. Why the Supreme Court and all their wisdom didn't think about this, Warren Court, all those back in the 60s and 70s, why those geniuses, we're so dependent on them today for wisdom to save us. Those clowns invented this genocide that was worse than Hitler and Stalin combined, worse than Pol Pot, remember Pol Pot? In Thailand, Cambodia. Remember that? Oh, you don't? Well, that was during, right after the Vietnam War. United States pulled out, and they had their way because the United States wasn't there anymore. We pulled out. And this guy decided to take out 3 or 4 or 5 million people. And he stacked their heads up in gigantic stacks all over Cambodia and Thailand for people to look at, kind of as a warning. Wonderful man. So Yahweh gets mad. I mean, he's mad at Israel here in chapters 31 and 32. He is real mad at him. And so some wheeling and dealing goes back and forth. But he says, he's basically saying, if you mix with these people and their religions that's the problem, the religions. And most of the religions come from the women and the children, especially the women. Just like today, most men like to play golf. Women go to church and lead the family in religious matters. Wrong. The men should be. Yeah. Get rid of the golf courses and the baseball stadiums, the football stadiums, and the basketball. In fact, they're doing that right now with COVID. Shut them all down. It's dangerous. We can't have any sports. Oh, stand down there, purple, green, and yellow, life matters and all that stuff. Right. What a bunch of, and as far as I'm concerned, worthless individuals. They're all kind of popping up. They're boiling to the top right now. They all have their issues that they just love to go after. So now we're in chapter 32. Notice how things don't change. Things don't change. The same clowns and worthless individuals who will meet the Maker one of these days, and the grand majority are in serious trouble. And can we save them? No. You can only be an example. And if they want to pick it up and ask you and grab your tzitzis in the future, as the word says will happen, fine. But if not, if they don't hear and obey in the millennium, they don't eat. They don't eat, they don't get water. They don't get water, they don't get crops. They don't get crops, they don't get anything. They starve to death. And that's the way it is. That's called the millennial age of the scepter rule. And the scepter rule is an iron scepter. Okay. Plain and simple. Chapter 32, the Reubens and the Reubenites and the Gadites, they wanted to stay on the east side of the Jordan, and then Yahweh said, no, you're going to go into the other side, the west side of Jordan. They went back and forth on that for a couple of chapters, and Moses made some wheeling and deal with them, and that they had to promise when they needed help on the west side that the east side tribes would come to their aid. They made that promise, and they said 2 or 3 times, we, your servants, will do as our master commands. Did that happen every time? No. So did they lie? Yep. What else is new? Yahweh let them have their way. Did it let them see just exactly how life was going to go? And to this day, everything east of the Jordan is worthless, is contestable land, and where wars happened continuously. Isn't that amazing? All right. And let's see, we're not going to be able to finish, so we're going to stop here, finish up with the tribes, and then we'll pick it up again.